Welcome to the Guardian Group podcast series. The Guardian Group, providing extraordinary solutions to today's exceptional problems.
Hello, podcast fans. Welcome to another episode of the Guardian podcast series. Today, we're going to talk about PCB handling and automation. Rick Murrah, who usually joins me today, is on assignment, but never fear, we do have a guest from across the pond, our managing director of Guardian Europe, Mr. Holger Kern. Good afternoon. I should say good evening to you, sir.
Good morning or good evening, Todd. Nice to see you again.
Yep, it's still a little bit morning time here. So what we're going to talk about today is PCB handling. And when we talk about automation, one of the things that happens is employees get worried because they hear the word automation and then they think, okay, my job's going to go away. And, you know, sometimes that is a possibility that we could have this type of thing. But when we talk about the automation that we're talking about today, we're talking about the tasks that employees do over and over and over and over. And in this, when we talk about that, we have employees, you know, they can be injured during these repeated tasks. And what I mean by that is lifting and turning, back injuries, shoulder injuries, things like that. Employees miss time. You know, and sometimes employees, they don't get along together at the same time. And then we have quality issues sometimes when we're aligning to equipment or getting stacks in the right place. And I wrote an article recently where we can talk about automation. And one of the advantages of automating some of these menial tasks is getting your employees to think more and go to tasks that are more important, that require more thinking than rather just having them sit there and lift and turn. I mean, do you agree with that there, Holger?
Absolutely, yeah. It's normally, as usual, no automation without humans. Humans need to take care about controlling and how the machines are working. And
correct.
In this case, that is to help to make a loading section more easier for the human and more safe and maybe even cost savings for the factory.
Right. You mentioned to me in our conversation prior to the podcast that when we talk about costs associated with the employee versus the automation, when customers are trying to do their return on investment or whatever, sometimes it's equal or maybe a slight difference if you go to the automation versus the employee.
And that's always the question where it's in use. I would assume from the quality side issue, absolutely it is a winner because a loading or unloading device or something that moves the PCBs around the corners is more safe for the product and more safe for the operator. And in this case, the quality would go up. When you're just looking price, and it can be that when you buy expensive loading and unloading devices, that is the calculation will be more tricky. But normally, looking for the quality side, it is always a winner.
Okay, good. So how do we incorporate handling when we talk about loaders and flippers? We have different options where these can be incorporated in there, and I think both of us agree that a lot of places in the plants or in your operation for handling your raw materials, you know, there's a lot of lifting and turning, moving onto carts and things like this.
Yes, absolutely.
But we definitely see that in the, I would say the chemical lines, the print etchers, the yellow rooms where you mentioned that to me earlier, where we have lamination and a lot of repetitive moving in there.
Yeah, it's always the place where the material is, let's say, in a sensitive state. In the raw material handling, that is a good starting point where you can load and unload everything what you need to be on carts that you can move to the companies. But then when you are in front of a chemical line, when you are in front of a laminator or something else where you have some special delay times, dwell times, whatever you need to take care for, then handling come in place, because you control the time. No one would touch the material by loading and unloading, no fingerprints and stuff like that. So that's the case where this is a good thing to start.
Right. I know when we talked earlier, all of the things listed here we can do, but I know one thing I mentioned, and we took that back out because I had in there the lamination or pressing process, but you informed me that that's probably not a good fit because of the weight involved of the materials at the press units, the big plates, the call plates, and things like that. We're just talking too much weight for most handling equipment.
Right. In this case, you need to have some heavy-duty versions. These are also available, but that's not really standard. Normally, in the press section, you have different devices for loading and unloading, because a press plate package is, we discuss here, hundreds of kilos. So it's a completely different working area.
Yeah. All right. So, Guardian, we stress, our relationships, our partnerships. I wrote something recently about the strength of not just having a customer or supplier, but developing partnerships where both parties can lean on each other. And I'll let Holger talk a little bit with the company that we're involved with called Waxco with their handling equipment. And maybe you can tell us a little bit how that partnership created itself and how we are doing business with them.
Yeah. So basically, Waxco and Guardian are partnered since over 15 years now, nearly 20. The company itself is very long time already on the market. Waxco is an old PCB company, let's say. And there is the place from Waxco is in a robust, medium size, quality looking devices to be able to make loading and unloading and handling for PCBs in all directions. So there are many machines available on the side of Waxco for loading in semi-vertical, vertical, and horizontal way, in unloading in the same way directions. We have it as buffers, as whatever needed and used, where you have it to do. So today our idea was to talk about a horizontal loader called skimmer, or something to do for interleaves called lever, or something for change direction called diverter, or an easy operating system for loading and unloading in horizontal way. That is our in and out, what we see here.
Very good. For our listeners that might be not knowing who Waxco is, where are they located?
Waxco is a Spanish company. It's really close to Barcelona. And Ricardo Benmayor started this business, I don't know, in the 80s, in the late 70s, early 80s. That is a really long time this company is on the market.
Okay. Well, Holger mentioned the machines that we wanted to highlight today, and he mentioned the interleafer, the in and out machine, the diverter, and the skimmer. So let's just jump right into that and see what we can talk about. The first one is our interleafer.
Yeah, that is more or less a square box that normally you can put always in between when you have the space available. This, from my point, is a nice handling or quality issue machine, because that brings interleaves into the process to make sure that you have no touch from panel to panel. So basically, that's a piece of plastic in a certain size, and you'll bring it into the line and load it in front of a PCB with the loading and unloading device. That's something really for quality safe. And I didn't see that as a single machine ever right now. That's the first machine I found in this way.
Okay, and the footprint on this is what, About
It's a really square box. It is 900 by 900 millimeters. It is approximately 38, 37 inches.
okay. And this definitely is a good example of for interleafing for panels now that are for high speed with Teflon and things on the outer surfaces that are very fragile.
It comes to a place where we have really sensitive surfaces.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. That is one of our options. The next one we wanted to talk about that Holger mentioned was the in and out machine. Whoops. Yeah, I got it. Whoops.
Yeah.
The in and out machine, the horizontal loading, unloading.
Yeah, this is one of the easiest machine. Basically, that's a machine where you have a speed control conveyor for loading in, means loading into a horizontal mechanical chemistry line or brushing line or a kind of stripper, whatever you are using there. You can use these machines because you have a stack in a horizontal way, and the height here for that is 500 millimeters, and you can load on this machine something about 800 kilos on weight. So it can be even plates, metal sheets like press plates, for example. So that is one example where we're also able to use it in the pressing area, but normally that's not happen in the press plates section. And the machine is quite robust, chemistry hard, and it is easy handling, means you take the PCB by a vacuum suction cup system, lift it a little bit, move it into a conveyor, and then it moves into the next line. Here we can maybe have some touch to panel because it's a horizontal loading device. And the same way, vice versa, with an out, we take something out of a line. That's the picture in front, where the PCBs just roll out and move down on the table and goes down by light sensor until it's full and the beep comes out.
Okay.
Unloading. That is one of the easiest and machines ever.
Yeah, and this is a great example for many of the lines that are involved in the PCB manufacturing process, anywhere where there's conveyors.
Yeah, and everywhere where scratches and heavy load is in place. Yeah.
Right, and this is where we talked about employees and getting injured.
Yep.
This takes that away, where they're not going to be lifting and they can be doing something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one we have that Holger mentioned is called the skimmer, and I'll let him talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is basically a horizontal loading machine where we have a vacuum arm moving in horizontal left and right and in Y direction up and down. So basically we have here a machine to be able thin material interlayer, inner layers for some certain issues, or folds or heavy duty PCBs. So this machine can handle from 0.01 millimeter bis 9 millimeter, from 100 gram bis 9 kilos. It's no problem to handle here PCBs, and it's a working direction from left to right or right to left. And you can use box systems. You can adjust it to your production line. Basically, when you have an own box tray system, it can be adapted here, stuff like that. Interleafs possible. So basically, a machine for all users when you need to be loaded horizontal.
Okay. You would see this also on conveyor type systems, chemical lines, things like that. Again, here with this type of machine.
It is etching, it is developing, it is for resist stripping, chemical lines, brushing lines, or just to feed, let's say, an easy process when you need to mark something. Everything possible until you can feed it on a conveyor.
Okay. All right, and then this one kind of speaks for itself, which we call the diverter, and this is
Yeah,
another small square box. Go ahead,
yeah,
Holger.
that is also something interesting to change directions. Yeah, because sometimes you have a line where you need to go around a corner, and then you need to be able to go from left to right, from straight to left, or whatever it's doable. So basically, you have here three directions where you can select to go, all controlled by sensors, and it is size free. So basically, the maximum size is 24 by 24 inches on PCB. It doesn't matter if it is 24 or 18 or 19 or 20 inches long. It's all controlled by sensors and would change direction. The point here is this is something where we do not take care for the leading edge, because when we change direction, we change the leading edge. But there are some other devices available, looks quite similar, called online. In this case, we would go around a corner and would take care for the leading edge when needed.
Oh, okay. So this would be something that for the employee that we move somewhere else where they're doing a twisting or type thing where they could injure their back or shoulder or something like this. And this
Yeah,
can be
basically,
used
that is a model to connect
two different
lines or
lines.
or change directions. Yeah, but again, the machine would do it and not the humans. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. That's some great information. I can see that where, if it just is turning it, if you're worried about aligning to the next line, you could have some other alignment equipment as it moves,
Yeah.
to redirect it back onto the line correctly. Like you mentioned, there's some other items that can be added to make sure your leading edge is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's some good information on our partnership with these guys. And one of the things, I mean, we looked at some very popular and entry level type equipment here where we can do a lot of motion moving and take care to not have the human people getting injured. But, I know we have a lot of other options in the line with Waxco where we talk about, when people talk about automation and robots, there's AI programming and some of their line, are they working on artificial intelligence and
Yeah,
PLC programming and things like this?
that is something what this kind of companies needs to do, and Waxco working on this area already to implement robot arms with with 5 or 6 axes, for example. They had to start to make a machine for these things, and also with logic included. The standard logic right now you need to have anyhow is right now in place. Is PC, everything is PLC controlled, and everything is able to make handshakes, to be able to give information to the next machine or take a signal from the machine in front. This all right now given. Most machines are equipped with touchscreens, but yes, right now I know they are working on a solution for a huge heavy-duty loading devices where they want to have use a robot arm. And now they need to find the right solution for that. But yes, robots, automation, AI, that is the future, and Waxco is also thinking, developing in this way.
Good. That's great having partners that are trying to stay ahead of the technology curve and growing with the industry. That's great.
Yeah.
That takes care of basically what we were wanting to talk about. Waxco give you as the viewers idea of what handling equipment is available, and you can contact us, of course, for a lot of more information for that at info@guardian.com. Any closing comments from you, Holger?
Yeah, I would say thank you for this nice talk about Waxco and give the possibility to explain that. And yeah, I would be happy to have some information back from this podcast about Waxco.
Right. Okay. So, as I said, you can give us, as usual, after our podcast, we will have this available for people to look at on our website and also find it on your usual podcast platforms. And like Holger mentioned, we'd love to hear from you. You can drop us an email at info@guardian.com. That's info@gardien.com. And we'd be happy to give you some more information on this. Also visit our website at www.guardian.com and click on the equipment tab, and you'll find all of our information on our equipment there. From my side, Todd Kolmodin with the Guardian Group and Holger Kern, we bid you a fine afternoon, and we'll see you on our next podcast.